Hello, this is Dave Sugarbaker, and this is Sunday, the third day of December in 2023. And I'm doing something a little different today. I'm going back to see some of my earlier creative efforts. Generally around Christmas time, I would do short stories or essays or poems. And today I'm going to take one of those short stories and share it with you. It's entitled No Room. Sully was a night clerk at one of the major hotels in the city. He, along with several other clerks, sat behind terminals at a long desk at the corner of the main lobby. It was a dull job. Verify the reservation, fill in the billing information, and most importantly, get a credit card to swipe so that they could bill even if the customer tried to skip out rather than checking out, or tried to steal all the towels or the sheets or the blankets or the TV. Sully had seen it all. The place was booked up tight. The grand order of just about everything was meeting, and there hadn't been a reservation available for the last week, and from what he had heard, they were booked up solid for another 4 or 5 days. That didn't really mean that every room was occupied. When you deal with as many rooms as this place had, there were always those who reserved a place and even paid for it in advance and then failed to show. The management didn't care. Most of the vacancies were prepaid, and they didn't have to change the sheets. So there were also rooms that were taken offline by the maintenance department for repair, for repainting, for renovation. So at least 10 rooms or so were vacant every night. May I help you? In what name was the reservation made? He sounded like a robot. He said the same things over and over. Sometimes he worried that he would actually be unaware of what he was saying or what he had already said. He could do this job in his sleep, and he had to fight to keep from sounding as bored as he really was. Again, may I help you? It was a young couple, not exactly the stereotype of the big spenders. He was late 20s, she was maybe 18. Sometimes they were obviously exhausted. They were obviously from out of town, and she was obviously pregnant. They looked worried and hassled, like people who were spending beyond their means for this trip, for whatever reason, or maybe they were just hungry and tired. It didn't matter to Sully. What was on their minds was certainly no concern of his. "We have a problem, sir." He certainly sounded solicitous. We didn't have a problem, Sully thought to himself, but this customer certainly did. "All of our rooms are taken. There are several major conventions in town, you know." The man obviously didn't know, or if he did, that knowledge didn't help him in the slightest. He handled this news without showing much change on the outside, but his wife sagged perceptibly. "Are you sure there are no cancellations or anything? My wife, we really need to get some rest." Sully could have handled this thing himself. He could stonewall these two. It was official policy. You could not double book a room, even if it was midnight and you knew your first reservation was a no-show. But with these two, he wasn't sure. He felt a little sorry for them. He knew that clerks and supervisors bent the rules all the time for big shots, that is, the big spenders, who arrived without warning or announcement. "Of course, Mr. Big Bucks, we're officially 100% full, but for you, I think we can find a room." That routine was usually good for a $50 tip or more, if his supervisor didn't interrupt and say the magic words and get the tip himself. With this couple, Sully wasn't sure. There was no money in it, and the lady looked like she might just light up the switchboard with calls for a fast ride to the maternity ward by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But he didn't want to stonewall them, or at least he didn't feel good about it. Let me talk to my supervisor. Perhaps he knows something I'm not aware of. Sully excused himself and carried a meaningless piece of paper down to the other end of the counter to the supervisor. The couple at my station have no reservation. What shall I do? She's real pregnant, it looks like. They're from out of town. The supervisor stared not too discreetly down the counter. What time is it? The soup said. Still early for a Friday night. We could still get some live ones as late as 2 or 2:30 this morning. There's a lot of money in this town right now. I hate to waste a favor on them and blow it later tonight. Put them off. Sully had been thinking the same thoughts, but he didn't like the sound of them when spoken by his supervisor. It seemed like a long walk back to his station where the couple waited. They were too tired to talk to each other. They just stood next to each other and waited. Sully didn't want to deal with them. Why had they wandered up to his station instead of one of the others? Why did he feel so bad? I'm sorry, but the supervisor confirms what I told you. We're entirely full. There is no room. May I suggest that before your next visit to our city, you phone us to make a reservation. Sully knew he sounded like a jerk. I can give you the toll-free number. Thank you for your time, the husband said, his voice drifting off as he and his wife gathered their belongings and turned to go. Sully felt awful. Wait, he called, and then he realized he really didn't know what he wanted them to wait for. Should he try to get around the soup and get the couple into a room anyway? What more could he do? Maybe there's still a way I can help you. The couple turned around. There's a small hotel, not anything like this place, about 2 blocks from here. It's called the 4th Street Inn. I know someone who works as night clerk over there, kind of a friend. The hotel is really old, but it's better than nothing. And I know this guy, he'll get you a room. And it won't cost you 1/3 of what this place charges. Let me write a note you can take to him. He owes me one. If there's any question, phone me from his desk phone there at the 4th Street Inn, and I'll talk to him. Here's my number. Sully grabbed a piece of hotel stationery and wrote a few words, and then printed his name and his extension number at the bottom of the sheet. He shoved it triumphantly across the counter to the husband. Just go out the main door, turn right, and go down 2 blocks to 4th Street. And then turn left on 4th. Stay on this side of the street. It's a little safer that way. Cross at the light at 4th Street and then go down half a block. You can't miss it. And they're pet-friendly besides everything else. Sully wondered why he had to say that. Sully watched as they left the hotel and turned right out of the main entrance. He tried to shake the bad feeling off of his shoulders as though it was a physical weight like a coat or a sweater. Well, he told himself, I did all that I could do. I did more than I had to do. But the weight remained. He turned to find a man standing at his station, an obvious big spender. May I help you, sir? No reservation? The hotel is very full tonight. Let me see what I can find for you. Now, God bless. Stay safe. And if you find value in this, I'd appreciate it if you'd pass it along. I guess it's called sharing on this. So, take care.